The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Coming up on this edition of Perspectives, a New York City Council member has announced he will challenge Kathy Hochul for Lieutenant Governor in this year's Democratic primary election. On this episode, you'll get to know him and hear what his plans are if elected.
Let them know. What's on your mind? Let them know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life. Make a difference. What's your perspective? Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective. What's your perspective?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime. We thank you for watching. And every week you're allowed to come on in and just take a look and see what's going on. Right here on the show, we invite you not just to check us out on TV, we also invite you on social media. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. You can also hit me up on my professional page, Daren C. Jaime, and find out the latest that's going on. And then have an opportunity to share your perspective. And you never know, it just might make air. You might just talk about it. But coming about this edition of Perspectives, my guest today represents the 45th Council District in Brooklyn. He was elected in 2009 and reelected in 2013 and again in 2017. He currently serves as deputy leader for the New York City Council and also co-chair of the council's task force to combat gun violence. He's also a founding member of the Progressive Caucus and is a member of the Black, Latino, and Asian Caucus. Recently, he announced he was running for Lieutenant Governor of New York, challenging current Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul. We welcome now Council Member Jumaane Williams to the show, and good to have you up here in the Borough of the Bronx, bro. Good to have you, man.
Appreciate you.
Hey, so talk to us about this here. You decided that you want to run for Lieutenant Governor, and so why does Jumaane Williams want to run for Lieutenant Governor?
Well, thanks for having me on the show, man. The show precedes itself, and so we're very excited to be on here talking to the folks and the boogie down. I'm just excited. I haven't been this excited since I ran for office the first time. I've been a council member for the past 9 years. We ran against an incumbent. We're told we were crazy for doing so, 6 people in the race. But I'm excited because the Most High lined everything up, and we got elected. I've been trying to stir the pot for the past 9 years as much as humanly possible, and I think we've done so in a very productive way. And many of the issues that I saw occurring in my council district, whether it was gun violence, police reform issues, housing, education, healthcare, all those issues I knew needed a citywide response. Same issues that folks are dealing with in the Bronx. And we did a lot, whether it was dealing with the issues of stop, question, and frisk, dealing with the issues of ban the box, construction site safety, gun violence in particular. We did a lot of helping move the needle. And so we did the best we could to provide a citywide response, whether it was through legislation, through funding. And then I realized I actually need a statewide response. And as I'm traveling across the city, across the state, so many of the cities I'm going to just recently came back from Rochester, Syracuse, Buffalo. We've been Hudson Valley. We've been to Long Island. All the people are dealing with some similar issues, slight differences depending where you are, and pain looks the same. And it's like, well, we need a statewide response for this. And for some reason, nobody looks at the lieutenant governor's position as a position of power to push these issues forward. Unfortunately, most folks who are lieutenant governor become the governor's lieutenant governor, and I'm rejecting that. I'm thinking I want to be the people's lieutenant governor.
Because you said it's been a ceremonial position in some sorts.
Primarily, it's been most people who have been in this position have been rubber stamps, parrot whatever the governor says, and ribbon cutting. I'm not a good rubber stamp, and I don't parrot. I like the ribbon cutting, so I want to keep that. They're fun. But I want to add substance to it. There has to be someone who's working with the governor, whomever that is, on the issues we care about. But if that governor is paying mostly lip service and not doing all the things he or she can do with the resources there, somebody has to be able to stand up and say the elephant has no clothes. The emperor has no clothes. And so unfortunately, that's not the way the position has been designed in the past. But I'm believing that people who designed it thought about it. That's why you're able to run independently, and I'm running independently of any one person. And that's because I think people thought there should be an independent position, the same way it is in many states across the country. New York State should be no different. And I threw my name in the ring because it's important. We have a public advocate's office in the city, and their job, public advocate Tish James, is to raise the voice of the folks. Independent of the mayor, independent of the council. There is nothing like that happening on the state. And I think we see the results of that by issues not being pushed forward.
So is that why you're challenging Kathy Hochul, saying that that's not being done now?
I believe it's not being done, but not just by the current lieutenant governor, but most lieutenant governors. Because as I mentioned, most people run as they're either chosen by the governor, or when they become the lieutenant governor, they're that person's lieutenant governor. I very much want to be the people's lieutenant governor. And I think people will see in my 9 years of being a council member, I have done that. I've advocated for the people. I've pushed back, even when the politics suggested that it wasn't the most beneficial to me politically, personally. It was important that we moved forward on these issues. Again, on police reform issues, on gun violence. I happen to have been a Bernie delegate at a time where it was very difficult to be a Bernie delegate. It was very hard. The political establishment looked at everyone with scorn. Now everybody wants to take a picture with Bernie Sanders. He's the most popular elected official in this country. But I've moved forward on issues, not because it was politically correct, but because it was politically right.
So let's talk about, if you're seated in office and you're elected, what are some of the priorities and objectives that you would like to see done?
Well, as I go across the state, many of the issues that we're dealing with in here in the Bronx and in New York City, whether it's hashtag Cuomo's MTA, hashtag Cuomo's housing crisis, those things translate across the state. People are dealing with transportation issues. People are dealing with housing and homelessness. Unfortunately, the Bronx is one of the poorest counties in the nation. We have elected officials now who are trying to really make a difference in that way, and I want to assist with that. And sometimes you need someone who is not beholden to any other political structure or not beholden to any political one place, let's put it that way, and who is not worried about what's going to happen to them politically.
So you've been critical of the governor and the MTA, talking about that. What would you like to see done by the governor?
Well, one, just coming from the city council, I know very much that there's a 14 or 16 member board of the MTA. City has about 4. Yet we provide, from the city, and Bronx folks should be aware of this, 60-70% of the budget goes to MTA. But we don't have any local control of that. The governor steps in and says, we want another $400 million. And we're like, okay, we'd love to give it to you, but we should have some additional control, and we should also be able to say exactly where that money's gonna go. Where is the Bronx taxpayers' money gonna go? But the governor didn't answer that question. He basically just took $500 million from the city coffers, and we had to make that up. That's the worst thing to do to a municipality and locality. And then to come to find out, as soon as he did that, one of the major projects was $1 billion short. So now we have to come up with some additional money. Also, there's some people don't know, there's a 2% spending cap. This is not to be confused with a property tax from folks on other parts of the state. A spending cap that prevents us from actually bringing in almost $20 billion in fairness fees, primarily aimed at people making $5 million and over. This is not just millionaires tax, there's other things. People don't know. Every single year since the 1980s, we literally collect $14 billion with a B from Wall Street and write a $14 billion check back to Wall Street. We can't collect that because the governor won't allow it, and even if he would allow it, he's not allowing us to lift the 2% spending cap. That's arbitrary. He just chose a number because he wanted to show that he has the ability to somehow control the budget. What had happened, and people don't realize in the 90s, is Pataki and his folks stopped state spending on so many issues and pushed it down to localities like New York City, like the Bronx. But they couldn't afford to do it, so they started cutting services. But we have a way to pay for these things. Unfortunately, the current lieutenant governor and others before don't push back on this because they, within the political structure, haven't had that ability or authority to do so. And I'm saying we need somebody who's going to shine a light on the issues I just spoke about, and who's not going to do it only when it's election time, who's going to do it all 4 years so that Bronxites know that that taxpayer money is being spent the best way that it can, and the services that they need, whether it's transportation, whether it's the housing, that is just not deeply affordable enough for them as people are being moved forward and gentrified, that someone in the state is pushing those issues.
So if elected now, you have the situation where you could be elected, and it's a very good chance that the current incumbent governor, Governor Cuomo, could go back to his seat. If he's elected and he goes back to his seat, how do you find yourself working with him when we know that in some ways you've been very critical of him as well?
Well, I'm consistent, and so I try to do and say what's right no matter who's there. I consider myself an ally of this mayor, but no one would tell you that I haven't been critical of him as well. Whenever it's necessary, my job is to point out what the problems are and also, more importantly, point out solutions. I have said that I believe that the current governor had earned himself a primary, so I'm very excited that he's having that primary. I won't be supporting him. But to be clear, whoever's in that seat, my objective is not to be oppositional for opposition's sake. So if whomever's in that seat, if it's this governor, if it's Cynthia Nixon, if someone else comes in and it's that person, my objective is to get things done. So if you are saying one thing and doing it in action and we're getting it done, we have to work together. But if you're saying one thing and doing something else or not saying anything at all, someone has to point that out. We spent the past 8 years with nobody pointing out. What if someone was pointing out the issues around Joe Percoco before we had to go to trial? What if someone was pointing out the millions and millions of dollars that are going into the gubernatorial mansion in exchange for very weak rent laws that are keeping people homeless? What if someone's pointing out the things I just told you about the MTA so people can understand better what's going on?
Let me take a quick break, come back more with Jumaane Williams, candidate for Lieutenant Governor. You're watching Perspectives here with Daren Jaime.
And I can't change, even if I tried, even if I wanted to. My love, my love, my love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
And we're back here continuing our conversation. Jumaane Williams, candidate for Lieutenant Governor, joins us here on Perspectives, running against Kathy Hochul. And that race will take place, the primary will take place in September. A lot of issues across the state. And so we know that you have a great grassroots effort, that you're a great organizer in Brooklyn and doing some great work in Brooklyn. Now you're trying to take it statewide. What is the conversation about what you're hearing across the state? Are the issues that you're hearing across the state the same as you hear in the city, or are you hearing a lot more of different issues? Well,
I think we've done actually a lot of, obviously I come from Brooklyn, so a lot of great grassroots work in Brooklyn. But I think across the city, the impact that not just myself, but the advocates and the organizers we worked with have impacted the city, including so many people in the Bronx as well. I think that's important to make sure that we mention. I will say everything's not exactly the same, but they are remarkably similar. And so, as I mentioned earlier, pain looks the same wherever you are. So folks in the Bronx are suffering now, trying to find deeply affordable housing. Sometimes we don't even account for the overcrowding that's happening in apartments. So housing and homelessness is huge. And it's huge across the state. If people traveled, as I am doing, and talking to folks, they'll see shanty towns in Rochester and Syracuse. They'll see homelessness spiking. When you talk about transportation, folks in the Bronx trying to deal with the MTA issues that everyone is wary and understanding is a problem. Transportation is an issue across the state. People are either looking for public transportation or more funding to fix the roads so they can get to where they need to go, whether it's to work or it's to school. As we went to do the listening tour before I announced, I was amazed at the reception that we received. I was worried about my brand of politics, being an activist elected official. Apparently now everyone is part of the resistance, but there weren't so many of us just a couple of years ago. And having been spearheading that kind of leadership and trying to show that you can be an activist elected official. I was so proud when City and State, which is a trade publication for city and state politics, 2 years ago, ranked me as the most productive council member right after the speaker, having 48 pieces of legislation, very hard piece of legislation, dealing with police reform issues, dealing with people returning home from prison so they can apply for jobs, dealing with construction site issues, which is killing primarily Latino undocumented people, and nobody was doing anything about it. Those are issues that I've grabbed on.
Do you find that would be a mark that you can make statewide?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And folks, again, can go to my website, JumaneWilliams.com, and see all of the issues that I'm raising here. But statewide, it is the same thing. The primary difference is the modality of the local government that they have that's preventing the resources and the changes that are needed. I neglected to say, just so folks know, I'm a first-generation American. My parents came from the island of Grenada. I have Tourette's syndrome, so you may see me move a little bit, but I come with that voice as well. And I'm a public school baby, from preschool to master's, educated in the public school system, including Brooklyn College. And so I have all those experiences, and I bring that with me when I'm doing the organizing, so I can make sure that the issues that I'm trying to solve and the solutions are real world, that they're not just pie in the sky. And we've been very productive in providing solutions, and I'm seeing so many good things happening in the city. We have a long way to go, and we don't do that without noise and without holding people accountable. So I definitely continue to do that. But I want to just take stock in what we have accomplished. And the only way we did that was to have someone pointing out, look, we're not going to tell people one thing and do something else. And I'm proud to have been able to do that throughout the city. I think that's exactly it. I know that's exactly what's needed in the state in 2018. We've seen a rejection of the politics as usual. We've seen a rejection of politicians as usual. And I consider myself an elected official. We want to see a different type of
Because you don't
elected
use the word
official.
politician.
Not on myself, no.
Yeah.
I think it has negative connotations. But what we're seeing are people saying, we want a different type of an elected official. Someone who's not just going to pay lip service. Someone who, the issue I see with this particular government and others is they have a jacket that they put on whenever it's popular. But whenever progressive issues become popular, it comes on. When it's not, they come off. We don't need policy by polls. We don't need someone who's going to test the winds to see which way they're blowing. We need people who believe in this, who are going to push things forward, irrespective of what the polls are saying, irrespective of what the winds are saying, because we believe it's true and it can benefit all the people of the Bronx, New York City, and the state.
And so right now, I know the city council is dealing with the budget, and the budget will probably be finished somewhere by the end of June. You guys will be wrapping up there.
Legally, we have to, yeah.
Yeah, legally you have to, right? But talk to me about the state impact with the budget, because that plays an impact on what goes on and what you do locally. If you're elected, how would you like to see things a little bit different, looking at this budget and what's coming down and what you got to deal with?
So the city budget is about $89 billion with a B. The state budget was roughly $168 billion with a B. So when people in the Bronx hear that we don't have enough money for the things that they care about, what is being told to them is we don't have a priority for what the folks in the Bronx want to see, but we have the money for what the priority of the politicians and elected officials are. What we've seen that's been scary, this governor has come in and just taken money from the city government. And municipalities across the state are most scared about that very thing. And even the things that I try to celebrate that have been done well, I often find that there's something hidden. And so raise the age, which was great. We got to do more, but at least we started something. If the city didn't come up with $200 million, we wouldn't be able to raise the age in New York City. Many people don't know that. The Excelsior program, which is great, people thought that they had access to free tuition. 2% of people who go to CUNY, where I went, are eligible for Excelsior. Many people don't know that. The NYCHA thing, the governor was governor for 8 years, but never set foot in NYCHA. And probably hasn't set foot in NYCHA since he was HUD secretary. Came in and dropped $250 million, said he would drop $250 million. Well, there's about almost $30 billion in repairs that's needed. And the monitor that he put in, that we were very happy about, but something happening, he said that whatever the monitor finds in fees, the city has to pay for that. That can be upwards of billions of dollars.
Let me take a quick break and come back and let you finish on that. Jumaane Williams here, our guest in studio. We're going to talk more with him. He gave his website. He'll give it back a little bit later on and then let you know how you can get in touch with him. Stay tuned. We'll be right back right after this. Back into our conversation with Jumaane Williams, councilman, but he's also seeking the lieutenant governor's seat in this September's primary, going up against incumbent Kathy Hochul. And we're sharing a little bit about some of the talk that's been going on around it. You know, one of the main issues I think a lot of us deal with in the city is that of public housing and NYCHA. And I want you to continue a little bit on, sharing a little bit on your thoughts on NYCHA.
So exactly, which I appreciate. It's a city in amongst itself. NYCHA has been calling for help for many, many years. This is something that has been a problem for decades, and it's stacked amongst itself. There's probably no one person that can be able to solve all of this. And what I was trying to say is, one, for sure, the city, this mayor, this administration, they have culpability in how things were managed and how things were handled. So we put that there. But to see the governor come in, which I've called what's happening between the governor and mayor, a male measuring contest, that maybe NYCHA residents might accidentally get some assistance because of that. But coming in after 8 years of doing nothing was appalling to folks who have been working on this for so long. And even when we try to say, okay, there's something good happening here, many people agreed that there had to be a monitor, someone outside doing that. But to slip in without anybody seeing, which is, it was in small letters basically, saying there's this monitor, whatever the monitor comes up with as repairs, the city has to foot the bill. I don't think people understand what that means. That means the monitor can say that the city has to come up with $30 billion on its own out of a budget of $89 billion. You can ask, Bronx people should ask, well, where are they going to get that money? Where is the state's responsibility in funding some of the things that this monitor may find? And that's the frustration that I have. And so sometimes even the things that I want to celebrate, it's difficult because there's poison pills put in there. And if there's no one to point out the poison pills, they slip through. But what if there was a lieutenant governor who would point out, hey, this monitor is great, but New York City, Bronx, you should know what the poison pill is. And that's what's been missing in this. And I think someone like me who can put that in, not worried about the political ramifications, helps everybody that wants to do the right thing, but sometimes have political realities that they have to deal with. So putting someone like me in the lieutenant governor's position empowers so many other people.
We got only a couple minutes left, so I want to get you the opportunity to tell people now if they want to support your campaign, what do they do? How do they find out where you're coming? What's going on?
Please, we picked up so many endorsements. The Working Families Party, I think I mentioned, DC 7207. We have 20 elected officials across the state. So many, New York Communities for Change. Make the Road. We have so many good folks, and I'm sorry if I left anyone out, Citizens Action. But JumaneWilliams.com. We need volunteers. We're trying to show that activist energy can defeat billionaire money. So $20, $30, $50, $10. It will be huge. We're getting ready for petitioning time. They can follow me on Twitter at Jumaane Williams, on Instagram at Williams Jumaane, and on Facebook, Jumaane Williams.
So make sure you get a chance to check out Jumaane Williams as he's running for lieutenant governor. Thank you for coming here and sharing a little bit on perspectives about your candidacy. Obviously, you got an open door. Come on back and share with us again.
I definitely will. I'll definitely be back as lieutenant governor as well.
All right. I appreciate that very much so. Jumaane Williams here,
Peace, man.
Our guest in the studio. Want to tell you, listen, as we get ready to ramp up going towards Election Day, it seems like it's far away, but no, the truth is September is right around the corner. So we encourage people, one, to get registered to vote, and then number two, exercise your right to vote. You never tell you who you can vote for, but we can always tell somebody to exercise their right to vote. That's my perspective, and this is Perspectives with yours truly, Daren Jaime. For all of us here on the Senate Perspectives, take care and God bless.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most.
They call me Maxie, but I prefer tripod. I was your above-average four-legged homie, and then wham, bam, minivan. Some people pity me. Now that's lame. I still run, fetch, and swim. And the ladies love me. I'm the ultimate wingman. Just don't ask me to high five.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate, and it's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.